Hey everybody, Brian here with Bantam Overland. In this video, we're going to show you how to install our Bantam Overland backup camera mount with the Alpine rear multi-view camera. This backup camera option is going to pair perfectly with our Alpine 507 plug-and-play bundle or any of our other Alpine plug-and-play bundles. With this backup camera mount, you are going to receive the mount itself. There is an extension arm, and then you will receive also the mounting plate specifically designed for the Alpine multi-view rear camera. This backup camera mount is designed to go right on top of your tire carrier, between the tire carrier and your tire, to add a great backup camera option to your 2007 to 2018 Jeep JK. Installation of this backup camera mount is super straightforward and plug and play using the Alpine provided rear camera wire. And some of the tools that we're going to need to complete the job today are a pair of side cutters, a handful of zip ties, some sort of panel removal tool. We always recommend a roll of tape, an impact gun with the appropriate size socket to get the rear tire off. Last thing that you'll need is a knife or a pair of side cutters to cut the grommet in the tailgate. So with that out of the way, let's get started on the install. Step one in the process, obviously, is to remove the rear tire here. So I'm going to grab our socket, we'll get these 3 lugs off, and we'll roll the tire out of the way. With the rear tire removed, you can see the wheel studs here. These top 2, this is where our backup camera mount is going to go. So let's grab our camera mount, and we recommend getting like a little piece of tape, just kind of rolling it on itself. We're going to stick it right there on the back. It's just a good way to temporarily hold the mount. So we'll just get the mount centered like that. Just go ahead and push the tape in there a little bit. So on our factory wheel, we know this is where we need the camera. If you have a factory wheel on the back of your Jeep or you have an aftermarket wheel, just use the pieces here. You have vertical adjustment, you have a threaded post, you can go in and out, and then you also have that articulating piece. So you can kind of figure out where exactly you need the camera to be in between some of the spokes on your wheel to get the best view out the back of your Jeep. So like I said, we know this is exactly where we need it. So this is just holding it in place while we run our camera wire. So to do that, you can see you have the first piece coming out of the camera here. All of the Alpine cameras have these little 5-pin connectors on here. So all we're going to do is grab the extension wire, we're going to connect it here, and then we're going to start running it towards the front of the Jeep to get to the back of our head unit. So let's grab the extension here. We'll take the twist tie off, and I'll show you how to start connecting and running this. So you'll notice on either end of the extension, you have that same male 5-pin connector, and on the other side, you have obviously the female side. So we'll get this untangled a little bit. And then all we got to do is just connect the 2 just like that. It's a good time to go ahead and untangle the mess of wire here so that we get everything nice and straightened out. All right, so the path that we're going to take with the other end of our camera wire is we're actually going to follow the wire for the 3rd brake light here. So if you go straight down from the 3rd brake light on this tire carrier, you can see the wire here. You see it comes out the bottom of the tire carrier and then goes in through this grommet, through the tailgate. So we're going to start by running the wire down through there, and then I'll show you how to get the wire through the tailgate here. Pass it down through the top, just reach in the side, and we'll go ahead and pull all of our slack through. All right, with our slack pulled through, let's go ahead and grab a couple of zip ties, and we'll just loosely get this wire attached to the 3rd brake light wire, just so we can start approximating where we need to connect everything. So what I would do is, to keep this nice and secure, is where we can put a piece of tape over it. If you have electrical tape or something like that, that'll work. And then we're gonna actually zip tie this back kind of up under behind the tire carrier. All right, let's grab our side cutters and we'll trim off the tails. All right, for this next step, we're just gonna kind of get the wire up and out of the way. We're gonna just place it actually right here inside the tire carrier just for the moment, because we're gonna go inside the tailgate. We're gonna remove a couple of panels and we're gonna push out this grommet right here in the tailgate. With our tailgate open, we need to remove 2 panels to make access to the grommet in the tailgate. The first one's gonna be this panel along the top, and then the second one is going to be this vented one here on the outside. So we're going to grab our plastic panel removal tool and pop those off. So for the one up top, the retaining pins are here along the bottom. I'm going to go here in the corner, slide along and start prying out. All right, you see that panel came right off. There's the metal retaining pins, and what we don't want to pry on are the little hooks here. So we'll set this to the side. Next is the vented panel here. We're going to want to pry on the inside of this, not on the outside. So again, we'll take our panel tool, work it under. You got 1 pin at the top and 1 at the bottom. Again, you want to stay away from this other side with the hinges on it. Now you get access into the back of the tailgate, and you'll see there's a wire right here. If we follow that wire, you can feel the rubber grommet. That's the one that goes through to the outside of the tailgate. You're going to push with your fingers, and that grommet is going to come right out. For the next step, what we want to do is make a cut in our grommet so that we can pass the camera wire through. So on our vehicle, we've actually already cut it. So I'll kind of show you what I did. I used just a knife like this, and then made kind of a longitudinal cut through the grommet. Just started with one and just kind of just kept slowly cutting away at it until what you're aiming for is you want to get it where the grommet is cleanly cut all the way through. Want to make sure that we do not cut the wires here that run up to the 3rd brake light. And then what we're going to do to run our camera wire is we can take all of the slack that we tucked away. We're going to find the end, and we're just going to put the camera wire right through the tailgate, and we'll grab it on the inside, and we'll go ahead and pull all of our slack through. All right, so all of our slack is now pulled through. We can kind of measure it from where we had it zip tied up inside the tire carrier. We're gonna take our grommet. We're gonna make sure that the cut is facing down towards the ground. We're gonna place our grommet back on the connector that it came off of, and then the wire for the Alpine backup camera, we're gonna just tuck it right in there with that wire. Kind of squeeze it all together, and then we're going to push the grommet with all of the wires back into the tailgate. So the grommet is nice and seated. We got our wires up all the way towards the middle as much as we can. So let's move to the inside of the tailgate. All right, from this point, we are going to make our way from here. We're going to come out this hole where the wire harness here runs the length of the tailgate. So we're just going to take our connector and just feed it up through, following this upper wire here. Should be able to work it right through and come out where the wire harness comes out of this hole in the tailgate. All right, there it is. So again, we're going to pull all the slack through. Let's grab another handful of zip ties to secure the wire. We're just going to follow this wire harness and go right across the tailgate. All right, don't forget to trim off the extra tail. All right, with our wire run through, we can go ahead and replace these two panels. So we'll start with the vented one. Remember, the hinges go towards the outside of the tailgate. That pops right into place. And our other trim panel, the little hooks, are going to go towards the top. And then we just pop in the clips on the bottom. Next up, we're going to move to where the wire jumps across the bridge, and we're going to start running it in the tailgate. So for this, we'll pick up all of our slack and we'll go ahead and place it in the back of the vehicle, and then we'll show you how we get across the gap here. All right, important note on the step here before we attach the wire to this part. We want to make sure that our tailgate is all the way open. That way the wire doesn't get snagged or pulled. So we do have our tailgate all the way open. We're going to place one more zip tie right here on the edge. And then we're just going to take the wire and make sure we kind of follow the back side of this harness, and we'll zip tie it one more time on the other end. And then trim the tails off. From there, we can take our camera wire, and we're going to go just right between the plastic panel and the body of the Jeep. So I found that a plastic panel tool like this works pretty well for that. You can kind of either pry it up, or sometimes it's just easier. You can start it with your finger and then use the panel tool to push everything into place. You can see once we get it kind of started, it just slips right in there and is nicely tucked away. So we're just going to follow the top here. We're going to go around the top and towards the carpeted section of the cargo area. Continuing on, we're going to go right under here. We're going to follow right around here and towards the carpeted portion. So once you get it started, like I said, just kind of use your fingers to slide the bracket out of the way. You can see that actually tucked away pretty nicely. Again, just double check, make sure that it's all tucked up out of the way. And then we're going to move around to under the window. Take our slack and keep moving it forward. All right, so we're going to reach up and pull the carpet down, and that's going to reveal this wiring harness here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to follow that, and we're going to use our zip ties and secure our camera wire every so often. Once we get to the back door, we keep pulling the carpet back. To make this easier, we actually folded the back seat down, so it gives you a little bit more room to do this. But again, just continue following the main wiring harness and zip tying. We're going to continue right down the back of the door, moving towards the floorboard. And don't forget to replace your carpet as you go. For the demonstration purposes of this video, we went ahead and removed the front passenger seat just so that you guys could get a better look at what we're doing. You absolutely don't have to, but if you want to, that's up to you. Once we got our camera wire here to the bottom of the B pillar, we actually just go right under the plastic. Again, using your finger, tucking it in. Make sure you replace your carpet, or this is where the panel tool comes in handy. You kind of stretch it and then scoot it underneath the panel. And just keep moving your excess wire towards the front of the vehicle. Right, so that gets us up to the front door. Give another pass through, make sure everything's nice and tucked away. And we'll move to the front seat. Now that we've reached the front seat, you have this trim panel here. There's one Christmas tree push pin here that we need to remove. So we'll use our other panel removal tool, pop that out of the way, and we'll continue working our camera wire under the plastic. You want to make sure that it goes inside of where that pin was. With the wire through here, we can grab our retainer and put that back in place. Continue the wire along the plastic trim, and we're going to go up towards the top of the carpet. All right, we're going to finish tucking the wire in under the plastic panel here. Get it all the way up to the corner here. And then the next step is we're going to remove these two retainers holding the carpet in. So you just lefty-loosey twist these off. And then we can pull the carpet back. We'll go ahead and pull it back all the way around. And we're going to just tuck our camera wire behind the carpet. Get that lined up. And we can put our retainer back in the corner. And put the other one in the middle back. Now we have our carpet all tucked away nicely. We have our wire here right at the bottom of the dash. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is take out the glove box, and it's just going to make it easier to feed this wire up inside the dash towards the back of our radio. I'm going to open the glove box. We're going to push in on the sides, get those pins around, pivot it down, and then it'll just pull straight out. Now we can feed our wire up from the floorboard. We can reach in through here, grab the wire, and then we'll keep it moving towards the radio. We're going to feed our wire up through. Once we have it, we'll pull all of the slack out. Then our next step is we're going to follow, there's a wire harness right in here, a couple wires. It's going to lead right up and go right into behind the radio. There's our camera wire poked right through. As you can see, we got lots of wire here, so we'll get this tidied up and get everything tucked away in the dash. Now that we have our rear camera wire run all the way to the back of the head unit, before we finish up the installation in the front, let's not forget to put our rear tire back on the carrier. That way we can make sure the camera's pretty much where we think we're going to need it, and it fits nicely in the wheel before we go plug everything in and check the image. So I'm going to grab the tire and we'll get that mounted up. But first, let's do ourselves a favor and take your lug nuts and set them out somewhere where you can get to them, along with your tool. All right, let's make sure we got our poles lined up and our Jeep logo, and we'll gently put this in place. All right, there we are. We'll grab our lug nuts and start them by hand. And we'll go ahead and tighten these down. All right, now our camera is in place. Great thing about this mount is if you need to adjust the camera view up or down, all you have to do is just bend the metal plate back a little bit. So now that this is all in place, we can finish up the install of the back camera behind the head unit. All right, we move back up to the head unit portion, but before we do that, let's put our glove box back in place. So we're gonna start with the hinges straight in at the bottom, pivot it up, push the sides back in, and that locks back into place nicely. Now, if you were following along in our other installation video where we talked about the full install of the Alpine 507, this is going to look familiar to you, but if you didn't, we're going to do a quick overview of all of the connections on the back of the head unit. So we have now our backup camera run, you have your navigation antenna run, you have your OBD2 harness run, you have your microphone run. So now it's just time to make all final connections. So starting on the back left here, we have the AM/FM antenna adapter. You have two antenna connections. You have one that's white and red and one that's this yellow-orange color. The white and red is going to be your AM/FM antenna, so we can connect that. If you opted for Sirius XM in your bundle, then your Sirius XM tuner will attach to the other connector there. Moving on, there's a harness here with a bunch of yellow tags on it. You see drive recorder in, rear camera. That's the one that we just ran our rear camera mount, so we can find that wire, which is also labeled rear camera. And we're just gonna match those up and connect those together. Next up is the main vehicle connector. So we'll find the corresponding plug in the dash and connect those. Next up is our navigation antenna that was on top of the dash. And that is going to plug in right here on the top left of the back of the radio. You'll see where it fits directly into the back. And the last thing we need is our microphone. Find our headphone jack here, and down towards the bottom in the middle, you'll see there's one that's labeled mic in, M-I-C-N, and we'll connect that. So all of those snap nicely into place. So just one more double check, make sure we got everything connected, and it looks like we do. So we're going to gently push all of the wires into the dash, find everything home, and we'll temporarily secure the radio so that I can show you how to activate the new backup camera. With all our wires tucked back in there, we can grab a couple of screws and temporarily secure the radio. With the head unit secured, we can grab the key and turn the power on, and I'll show you how to set up your new backup camera. Just like every other time you turn the radio on, you see the Alpine logo pops up almost immediately there. Again, take us to the home screen, and we're gonna wanna get into the setup menu. So as you remember with the Alpine units, you're gonna need to set the e-brake. So that time it popped up the first time. Sometimes it wants to see an on, off, on, so you need to set it, release it, and then set it again. We're gonna go into the setup menu. And we're going to go to the second icon here to function, and we're going to scroll down 2 times until we see camera. Right here at the top it says reverse camera, camera 1, and you see the little slider next to it. We're going to toggle the camera to the on position. So unlike a lot of the other units where the cameras just automatically turn on, Alpine is not set up that way, so you do need to go into the settings menu and toggle your cameras on, whether this be the backup camera, the front camera, the dash camera, whatever Alpine accessories you have added, you need to make sure to toggle them on in the settings menu. So now we can go right to the camera here on the button bar on the bottom. To the right of the home button is a camera. If you hit that, that'll automatically take you to the new backup camera, and that image looks really great. It's perfectly centered. I feel like the grid lines are an appropriate distance from the back there. You can also go in, you can, if you have a trailer hitch and you're towing a small trailer, you can actually add a hitch line, which is kind of a neat feature. You can also move the caution message from the top to bottom depending on your preference, and then you can either turn the guidelines on or off as you please. And then there's, in the settings menu, you can actually move the grid lines so that it matches up where you need it to. So lots of cool features there, lots of things to toggle with, and then we can just go to home. And then the last thing that we're gonna check is when we shift into reverse, obviously you can see that the backup camera comes on like it should in any other vehicle. So I'm really happy with the way that this backup camera turned out. There's also a great front camera and dash camera option. So Alpine's really thought of it all when it comes to accessories. So now that everything's working like it should, we can just put the dash back together. All right, so we need to finish tightening up our dash kit. So what I like to do is actually pull the sides of the dash kit as tight as I can get them to the face of the radio while I'm tightening these. And then we're just gonna snug them down. These are plastic dash kits, so we definitely don't want to over tighten or over torque. All right, with that back in place, we will grab the lower HVAC control panel here and get that reinstalled. So grabbing our control panel here, just gonna line up and match up all of our plugs again. All right, got our 4 connectors. We're gonna line up the pins here. And this panel is just gonna push right back in. All right, perfect. All right, next up is the main portion of the dash. So again, that's why I said leave the microphone kind of hanging out here so that it stays outside of the dash. And we will work this piece up and back over. I want to make sure our window switch harness is accessible. Push this back into place. All right. So got our window switch, got our microphone. So we'll go ahead and grab the screw here below the window switch and put it back into place. Let's grab our actual switch itself. Remember, from disassembly, we're gonna connect it to the main harness. That snap into place, and then don't forget the red locking pin. All right, we're gonna orient that the right way, and that's just gonna push right back in place. Next up, we're going up top into the storage cubby. So we'll grab another screw and replace that one as well. That in place, we can put our little mat back in. Next up are the 2 screws on either side of the steering column. Go ahead and secure those. All right, almost there. One more panel. We got our lower cover here. Again, we're gonna start with the hinges in on the bottom, get those lined up, pivot this up and snap it into place. And the last thing we have to do is mount our microphone. So we'll grab our towel, make sure that the top of the steering column is good and cleaned off. We're going to remove the backing on the double-sided tape. Tuck the wire back a little bit. We're gonna just line this up right in the center. And we'll just stick the microphone right there on top. Give it a firm push. Make sure our wire's tucked out of the way. And then we're gonna reset our steering wheel to our preferred location. If you guys enjoyed the install video on our Bantam Overland backup camera mount with the Alpine camera. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to check out all of our new product releases. And if you like the Alpine 507 that we have installed in our JK along with the backup camera or any of the other Alpine accessories, they're all available in the shop at www.bantamoverland.com. Like always, have a blast out there.